Yo, what's up guys? Today we're going to be making bone broth and we're going to be making condensed bone broth. So stay tuned, like, follow, subscribe, and share to help support the channel.
So the first thing you're going to need to do is get your bones and your vegetable scraps into your pressure cooker. You can also do this without a pressure cooker. This is just the most effective way. And it cuts the time down to 3 hours. If you do it on the stove, it would take 8 hours. Your vegetables are going to be harder to get out, so I would recommend using a butter knife and water to loosen everything up. And remember not to use cruciferous vegetables for bone broth. You're also going to want to break everything apart so it can all fit in the pot. This next container I had chicken broth in it, so I heated it up in a pan with water. Now we're going to use our butter knife again to break everything down. We also have this pork bone from yesterday, so we're just going to put it in here. Now we're going to add enough water to cover all the vegetables and bones. Next, we're adding 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to increase the extraction of nutrients. Next, we're adding 1.5 teaspoons of salt to bring out flavor. Next, we're going to set it to pressure cook on high for 3 hours. After your bone broth is done cooking, we're going to let the pressure out so we can strain it. Now we're going to strain our bone broth into a pot with a strainer. Now we're going to set our broth aside so it can cool. Now we're going to put our bones and scraps back into the pot so we can make another broth, and then we're going to condense that broth. Now we're going to do the same steps as we did before. We're just going to fill it up with water, just enough to cover the bones and scraps. Next, we're going to add some rosemary, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. We're going to put the lid on and pressure cook these again. Now we're going to put it on the same settings as before. After our bone broth is done cooling, we're going to pour it into jars. I recommend doing this over a pan because a lot of it will spill. To save our bone broth for as long as possible, we're going to have to freeze them, so you got to make sure there's at least an inch of space inside of your jars. As you can see, liquid loves to expand in the freezer. This is our second broth. We're just going to strain it and then we're going to condense it. After straining the broth, I took the bones and the scraps and blended it up with water and made bone paste for our garden. To condense your broth, you're going to want to simmer it down on medium heat until it's thick, and then you're going to want to pour it into a jar and put it in the freezer.